Hello and welcome. It's another exciting day to talk sport right here on Wonderland TV. It's Vision Sports 360, and I'm a host, Austin Arome. Quite a lot to talk about on the show. From football, we talk basketball, we talk, about the Olympic qualifiers. It's actually an action-packed edition of Vision Sport 360. Let's give you, lowdown of what we're going to be talking about on today's show. We're starting from the home front like we usually do, and it's all about the Super Falcons Olympic qualifier against the Bayana, the South African female national team, which is actually the final round of the Olympic qualifier. There's a date and the time has been announced, and the coach of the South African side is saying that the match is going to be a do or die affair. So it's actually going to be an interesting one between Nigeria and Cameroon and South Africa. There's also Nigeria's Super Eagles goalkeeper Maduka Okoye, who last featured for Nigeria at the last edition of the African Cup of Nations, and that was in 2021, where he committed that hurler, and ever since then he's been struggling for game time. But in recent times, he seems to have picked up for his club Udinese, and is currently eyeing a return to the Super Eagles. So we'll give you a detail of that story later on the show. There's also an update from the camp of Liverpool, the reigning champions of the English Carabao Cup. So much injury. The injuries are piling up, and Jurgen Klopp is giving update as regards to what's happening to the team. And there's also the Nigerian men basketball team, who in the Olympic qualifiers, talking about the Afro basketball qualifier, lost all games as far as the qualifying series is concerned, and the coach of the side has blamed poor funding as to why Nigeria had a poor outing at the just concluded Afro basketball qualifier. So we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll come back with the detail of all the stories and more on the show Vision Sport 360. All right, welcome back to the show, the Vision Sport 360 on Wonderland Television. Now, let's take a look at the Super Falcons. The Super Falcons last weekend played against Cameroon. It was a slim 1-0 win for the Super Falcons of Nigeria, and that victory for the Super Falcons over Cameroon has now pitted them against the Bayana of Cameroon, the African champions as far as women's football is concerned. And we all know that the Super Falcons and Nigeria, they have history dating back to as early as 2007. In fact, right from the beginning of the formation of the African Women Championship, it's always been South Africa, Nigeria, the likes of Cameroon, the likes of Ghana, always competing for that title. But it's actually quite fortunate for us Nigerians that Nigeria has dominated African women's football for such a very very long time. But in recent times, it seems like that dominance is beginning to wane out when you have to look at the fact that the last 2 or 3 edition of the Olympics, Nigeria women's team has not participated. So it's actually that dominance is something that is beginning to actually win out. And you look at the way the Super Falcons are playing right now, it seems like they mean business and they want to be at the 2024 Olympic that will be taking place in Paris, that's in France, and they are already in the final round of the Olympic qualifier. And their next match will be against South Africa. We all know what the South Africans can do. South Africans actually defeated Tanzania en route to qualifying for the final round of this one. And when you look at the African Women Championship that was held last year in Morocco, Nigeria literally struggled to get to the semi-finals, and South Africa actually won that edition. Nigeria lost, I think, in the semi-finals to Morocco, and this time around it's going to be a different ball game. A different ball game in the sense that Nigeria, unlike the previous edition of the qualifiers, beginning to have more of our key players participating at the participating as far as the qualifier is concerned. Because see, as a matter of fact, the last round we saw the likes of Aziza Toshola, the likes of Onomono, the likes of Ashley Prompty, all joining the Super Falcons to play against Cameroon. We hope that all these ladies will be available as far as that next round of Olympic qualifier is concerned. And just to give you the date where that this match will be taking place, it's going to be a two-legged affair, and it's going to take place between April 1st to 9th, 2024. And just like I said, the overall winner will pick one of Africa's representative, that one of Africa's ticket to represent Africa at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. And the head coach of the Super Falcons, that's Randy Waldrum, has revealed the reason behind this decision to bench Azizat Oshola, on Monday when they played against the Cameroonian counterpart. And for me, that actually yielded result, and Nigeria won that game by just a long goal. You say a long goal is just you can say it's just a long goal, but then when you are playing against a team like Cameroon, a powerhouse as far as African women's football is concerned, I think you take a 1-0 result. And up next for the Super Falcons is that important game against South Africa. And moving on and switching gears now, still talking football, but this time around we are talking about the Super Eagles of Nigeria. If you recall, there was a certain goalkeeper called Maduka Okoye who actually took Nigeria to the 2021 African Cup of Nations. Nigeria had a fantastic run up until they got to the round of 16 of the African Cup of Nations, and we played against then best loser, Tunisia. Tunisia got that got there through that best loser route, but then it was so unfortunate Nigeria lost that game, and it was courtesy of a mistake by the goalkeeper Maduka Okoye, and we all know what happened to him then. A lot of Nigerians coming out to call him all sort of names, and it was not actually quite palatable, and the young man actually had to call it quits from the national team. And even after that, he there was a point where he was not having this he was not having good time as far as his team is concerned. He had just two appearances that season with Watford. Eventually he left Watford to join Udinese. Even as at this season, there was a point where he was not a regular for his club. Talking about Udinese, but in recent times it seems like Maduka Okoye is now back to himself. He's now back in form. He's actually keeping regularly for the his team. Talking about Udinese in the Italian Serie A. And one thing is saying at this point in time is that he's missed being with the national team, and is looking forward to coming back. And he actually knows that coming back into the team is not going to be an easy one, because you already know the heroics of Sterling Nwabali with the team, and he knows that he's going to come in and fight Sterling Nwabali, who did so well at the African Cup of Nations. And so far so good. He feels like he's 100% he feels he can give his 100% to the national team, and he feels like all those days, or all these torment that he had over that mistake is over it now, and he wants to join back, start playing for the national team. So a good one for Stanley Nwabali. And switching gears now, let's talk basketball, where the Tigers coach, head coach Mohamed Abdurrahman, has blamed the poor funding for his side's underwhelming performance at the concluded the 2025 FIBA Afro Basket qualifiers in Monastir, Tunisia. Remind you, Nigeria won the 2015 Afro Basket Championship, which initially they had to withdraw at one point, just like we did recently when we are going for the qualifiers, because the MBBF, talking about Nigerian Basketball Federation, when they said that there was no money for them to travel. So imagine a team traveling to a tournament, and they are traveling on the same day where they are supposed to play. So what do you expect from a team like that? You don't actually give what you don't have, and you cannot just give your 100% when you know that you are not adequately taken care of. We all know what happened. Nigeria going to a competition when they're supposed, on the very day they're supposed to play that match. So I think it was actually not so good coming from the MBBF. They should have planned for these guys, because they know that the calendar is there, so they know that these guys are supposed to be in this tournament as at a particular day, and you just waited until the very last minute to actually put these boys to the tournament. No preparations. It's actually quite appalling, and you don't actually expect them to do magic at the end of the day. So it was actually not a good showing for Nigerian men basketball team at the just concluded Afro basketball qualifier. So we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we still have a lot to talk about right here on the show Vision Sport 360. Welcome back to the show, and moving on, we'll switch gears now to football. And when we're talking about football, this time around we're talking about the oldest football competition in the world. We all know that the FA Cup third round started yesterday. We have matches, results are from yesterday's games, and we're going to be talking about fixtures for today's games. And talking about yesterday's game, let's look at the results for yesterday's game. Leicester City beat Bournemouth by just a lone goal, and Newcastle United actually defeated Blackburn Rovers, not on regular time. It ended 1-1 after full time, and Newcastle United won 4-3 via penalty shootout. And another interesting game yesterday was between Manchester City and Luton Town. Manchester City defeated Luton Town by 6 goals to 2. And one thing that you have to note as far as this game is concerned is that the rate at which Manchester City I won't say the rate that they've not been scoring in recent times. They have back-to-back 1-0 victory over Bournemouth and over Brentford City, and then in this game you expect them to blow to be blowing hot. Actually, they did their best, scored 6 goals, but then conceding 2 goals against Luton Town is not something that you see regularly as far as Manchester City is concerned, which actually puts that question out there. Can it's not actually can, but the question is, at this pace, will Manchester City actually can they take it down to the last day as far as the league is concerned? Because when you look at their performance, both in recent times, you're talking about the league, talking about even in the Champions League, talking about the FA Cup, they scored 6 goals, but then they conceded 2 goals at the end of the day. Is it a matter of maybe the players have actually got into that part where they are complacent about the way they play because of the fact that they won the treble last season. And when you do that as a team, there's every tendency that you might get complacent, and probably that's what we are seeing with Manchester City. But even though they are not playing particularly well, but they are getting the result. But then how long can they actually hold on? How long can they play like this and keep getting the result? So it's actually a matter of time before we get to see what's going to happen at the end of the day. With Manchester City retain their Premier League title, the third Premier League title that they won last season, thereby becoming the first team to win four English Premier League title in a row. And it's a record that everybody would not want to happen at this party time. Most fans, talking about Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans, Manchester United fans, they won't want that to happen right now, because it's going to be very, very difficult to replicate that. And it's a good one that we actually have Arsenal and Liverpool chasing, or should I say the other way around, is Manchester City and Arsenal right now chasing Liverpool, who are on top of the table. And looking at today's fixtures, we'll have Chelsea taking on Leeds United. Nottingham Forest will take on Manchester United. We have Wolverhampton Wanderers against Brighton and Hove Albion. And there's a game between Liverpool and Southampton FC, which brings us to the injury update that we're talking about earlier. Jurgen Klopp coming out to give that injury update about his team, and he actually said that he's going to take he's going to need miracles to actually get his injured players back in time to boost the quadruple bid. As you all know, Liverpool, for the very, very first time in a long while, are chasing trophies on four fronts. They won the Carabao Cup over the weekend against Chelsea. They are still in the FA Cup. A win for them against Southampton later tonight would mean that they are into the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Automatically, they are getting closer and closer to the FA Cup title. And there's also the Europa League. They are in the Europa League round of 16, where they take on Sparta Rotterdam. And on a normal day, you expect Liverpool to win against Sparta Rotterdam. Automatically, you have to put it into perspective. Liverpool, you will say, one leg into the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and they are topping the table as far as the English Premier League is concerned. But then, one major problem that they have now as a team is the fact that they have lots of players that are on the treatment table. I'm talking about major players. When you're talking about injuries to players, I don't think there's any team that has been as unlucky as Liverpool this season in terms of the injury that has affected the team. Let's take you give you the list of the players that are currently injured, and among these players are 6 starters. When I mean starters, regular players that when you release the team list, they are always number one to 6 on the team sheet. Talking about the goalkeeper Alisson, you're talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold. You're talking about a certain Dominic Szoboszlai. You're talking about Thiago Alcantara. You're talking about Bajcetic. You're talking about the likes of even Diogo Jota as well is missing. You have Salah missing. You have Darwin Núñez missing. You have the likes of talking about Matip as well is missing. There's also Ben Doak missing. About 11 first team players missing for Liverpool, and among them we have 6 starters. So it's actually beginning to doubt if these players can actually return in time to actually beat to actually help their bid to winning those 3 remaining titles. In the already they've won the Carabao Cup, but then there's still 3 titles that that is left for them to win, and they are all they are in the title. So looking at it, will these players come back, and will their comeback be so in a way actually help the team their course to win the quadruple before clubs leave, because clubs is Jurgen Klopp is leaving at the end of the season, and I'm sure that most of these players will want to give their coach, their manager, the kind of send for that he will not be able to forget all his life. So it's actually an interesting one for Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp tonight. We'll see the kind of team, the kind of lineup they are going to set up tonight. Is it going to be the same with what we saw at Chelsea? With the academy boys, getting that playing time, and they were so impressive, by the way. And let's see how that pans out at the end of the day. And moving on, let's talk about. We'll take a short break rather before we continue, and when we come back, we'll wrap it up right here on the show Vision Sport 360. Welcome back to the show, and continuing this time, we're looking at the NBA results as we look to wrap it up on the show. And looking at the NBA result, I think is actually was a fantastic one early this morning as Max Strauss with 59-foot buzzer beater for Cleveland's Cavalier came from behind to pull up the string win over the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. Strauss hit 5 three-pointer in the final 5 minutes to help the hosts overturn a 10-point deficit in a 121 to 119 point victory for the Cleveland's Cavalier. We have PJ Washington who put the Mavericks ahead with 3 seconds left before Strauss scored from the inside of his half. The last 5 minutes felt pretty good. This is according to Master Strauss. Strauss finished with 21 points, and Donovan Mitchell scored 31 points for the Cleveland's who are second in the Eastern Conference, while Luka Doncic scored 45 for the Dallas Mavericks as a Rocket Mortgage Field House. There's also Giannis Antetokounmpo who scored 24 points, and Damian Lillard 23 as the third place. Milwaukee Bucks storm to 123 to 85 point home win over the Charlotte Hornets. Milwaukee Bucks are feeling bullish at the moment. If you recall, I think the last game, it was actually an election as well. I'm trying to remember the team they played the game. The distance between Milwaukee Bucks and the opponent was actually quite huge. And in this game, you could actually see that they played the same way as well against talking about the Charlotte Hornets. 123 points to 85 points is a massive difference. And looking at how the Milwaukee Bucks are playing at the moment, you expect them to go all the way. You tip them as one of the favorites to go and win the 2024 NBA title. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is at the helm of affairs. It's at the helm of everything good that's happening with Milwaukee Bucks at the moment. He scored 24 points on the night, and that's not actually Giannis playing at his best. We know that he's actually quite capable of doing more than 23 points. He's capable of doing 51 points. He's capable of even doing close to 60. We've seen him scored 55 points already last season. So this is not Giannis Antetokounmpo playing at his best. But then Milwaukee Bucks are actually feeling bullish as far as the Eastern Conference is concerned. There's also a game in the Western Conference as leaders Minnesota Timberwolves beat San Antonio Spurs 114 to 105 points, while second place Oklahoma City Thunder, who share the same win percentage as the Timberwolves, made it 6 wins on the bounce with a 112 to 95-point home victory against the hosting Rocket. Eastern Conference leaders Boston Celtic beat the Philadelphia 76ers 117 to 99 point victory at home, while Detroit Pistons ended the 6-game losing streak with a 105 to 95 point triumph at the Chicago Bulls. So interesting one. Happening at the NBA. Quite a lot of team feeling bullish, so to say. I don't know what's happening this season. 105 to 95 point victory for the Detroit Pistons. It's not something that you actually see regularly. And there's also Timberwolves who actually demolished Houston Rockets 111 to 112 rather to 95 points. So it seems like we're already getting accustomed to seeing this kind of results in the NBA, probably because we are gradually getting to the business end of it. A lot of these teams are already looking to secure their place as far as the playoff this season is concerned. So we have the likes of Minnesota Timberwolves and Boston Celtic taking charge as far as the Eastern and the Western Conference is concerned. And this is where we draw the curtain on today's edition of Vision Sport 360. I want to thank the viewers for joining us on the show today, and to my production crew for doing a wonderful job behind the scene. On behalf of us, all of us here, we'll say thank you for watching and bye for now.